The average adult asks about 20 to 30 questions a day. Some of the more common questions we ask ourselves are, where are my keys? Did I leave the stove on? And why did Pat McAfee release a country rap album? Today, however, Stephen and I ask ourselves hockey-related questions, like, will we have 34 teams in the NHL soon? What's in store for the Penguins and Flyers this season? Which goaltender will win the Vezina this year? And why the hell did Pat McAfee release a country rap album? That and more on today's episode of the Keystone Hockey Podcast, episode 6. I had to throw those shots at Pat McAfee because he is from Pittsburgh, so it technically does apply to this show in some way. Steven, how you
Yeah,
doing today?
I'm doing all right. You know, it's funny. I did not actually know Pat McAfee was from Pittsburgh.
Really? Yeah, he does
No.
that's why he does all those like charity things. So he had like I think he had
Yeah,
like
I mean that
Sid and
makes sense
Athene.
now. I was wondering why he's always with Sid and all that. So I guess that kind of makes sense now, huh?
I think he reps Indianapolis more because he played for the Colts. But if you're listening to this, do not listen to anything that came from that uh, atrocity. It's basically pouring acid into your ears. Um, yeah, we got a couple subjects. We're just past the Ides of August, so absolutely nothing is happening. Basically, all we have to talk about is just like some lists that were put out. We're not going to see any trades for probably the next 3 or 4 weeks, most likely. Maybe a couple transactions. I know Jack Berglund was sent back to the Swedish Hockey League, although he was expected to play some good minutes for the Phantoms this year, so he's going overseas for one more year. Um, but I guess the biggest subject, Stephen, is that um, the talk of expansion is not slowing down, which is unfortunate. I guess what's your opinion on it? I think probably another negative opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean I love the growing of the game, but I really don't think we need like 32 teams. I was fine with 30, honestly. Um, but 32 is fine. I mean, now you got all the divisions lined up the exact same amount of teams in each division. And then I feel like if you go to 33, they're going to have 34. And then you're throwing the divisions off again. So I don't know. I mean, it definitely helps grow the game, but like the markets that they want, I just don't really see them. Like the only one I would be fine with is Quebec, and I know Gary just refuses that. So, like Houston, I truly don't know why we need a hockey team in Houston. Dallas is fine. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I know it's just to help grow it and all that, but I just don't really see the need for it right now. I mean, the two that we just had have been successful. Well, Seattle is debatable. Um, but I don't know. I don't feel like it's necessary right now. I mean, maybe give it like 10 years maybe then we can revisit it, but I think currently we just don't need it. And then again, the markets that they're looking at, I just don't think fit really.
Yeah, and I mean we all know it's for money, and it's almost like there's nothing we can do. It's just inevitable. Which I don't know. Like their most recent expansion team is meddling in mediocrity for their entire existence, and really has nothing to show for it. And it doesn't seem like Seattle's like going to be able to figure it out anytime soon, which is unfortunate. I mean, they walk away with Chase Reed in the draft, so they got the best defenseman in the draft this year. So there's a little bit of a bright side there, but you got players asking out of there already, and they're the league is so talented, but in the same breath, um, to do another expansion, get another 20 plus guys on a team, two teams, and then another 20 to 30 in an AHL affiliate. It's going to be hard for any of those teams to compete. Like you said, I mean, Houston and Austin, the fact that like they're thinking about 2 to 3 Texas teams is ridiculous to me. Um, the team that makes the most sense is to for the Nordiques to come back. Obviously, I got the Forsberg jersey over my shoulder. But for whatever reason, the league is obsessed with warm cities that really don't care about ice hockey all that much. And then the other, the other thing, Steven, we might be getting a return to the Atlanta Thrashers.
I mean, that's funny because like I remember hearing that and I was like, I don't mind that. I mean, as long as they actually show up this time, that bit kind of helpful. And they don't have a Kovalchuk this time around, so they don't have to worry about that ordeal. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's sad that the two teams that I'd be okay with expanding are just teams that have already existed. So I don't know. I mean, the Houston one really, I don't really see the need for at all. And again, it is all just for money, which I get it. Um, but I don't know. I mean, with the state the league is in right now, I mean, it's going positive. Uh, I just don't truly see the need for it currently.
Yeah, I just yeah, there's no need to like change anything right now. I feel like this has been as steady. It's like I mean, how many? I think it was like 2015 was I think like the division real, or maybe it was earlier than that, the division realignment
I think
for
it was
when
like 2012, maybe
2012,
2011.
2013. Yeah, that makes sense. See, like, Metropolitan, Atlantic, Central Pacific, the format we see now. And, it was you know, eight in one division of the conference, and then seven in the other. It was always just kind of bizarre. Now we have a full, even 8 teams in each division, and then they're just going to throw it off again just to have 9 teams in division and then eight in the other in their respective conferences. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense, but it's just kind of, like I said earlier, it's just kind of inevitable, which is it's relatively unfortunate, but I mean, it'll be good to see the game grow. But I mean, they would have the most teams in any four major sports leagues. I mean, even the NFL, who just rakes in infinite money, it seems like, they stopped at 32. I don't even remember the last expansion they had. I think it was probably the Houston Texans, but funny enough, Houston, which well, I might be seeing a hockey team in Houston. Um, But I don't know if Atlanta can't sell tickets. I can't see how Houston's going to. I'm just going to be honest. But I mean, Dallas does have a good market. They do have a good
Yeah,
core fan base.
I just don't know. I mean, you pretty much split that though if you add a second team in Dallas or in Texas. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Dallas Stars have been on the up and up. It took them a while to get their footing going. I mean, they had Madonna. Now it's kind of their saving grace, but then for a while there, they were kind of just middle ground. And in the last like decade or so, they've finally gotten it going with Ben and all that. And where they're at currently, I mean they had the Winter Classic in Dallas, so like I don't know. I feel like you're just gonna tear that part of it up too. So I don't know. I just Houston isn't where I would put one, but I mean, I guess that's what Gary wants. Gary's gonna get it. So
Gary wants what Gary gets. Uh, so it's funny. It sounds like we're kind of in agreement of just the two that make the most sense would be Quebec and Atlanta. They would both be on the East Coast of North America. So it's going to be probably one or the other. And I think in all likelihood, they're just going to pick another team in the United States and not another team in Canada, which is unfortunate because the Nordiques were such an iconic team. Um, I mean, just like insane rivalries with Montreal, and it just shows respect to like a region in Canada, like the French Canadian region, that like has thrived in hockey for so long and given us just so many amazing players. I don't know. It's going to be weird. We'll see where it goes. I don't expect a team for probably another 5 years, even if it is announced like somewhat soon. It's a very long process, and then you got to make a sale. Um, but it seems, I think the NBA is going through an expand, like they're trying to get a Las Vegas team, which is going to be a nightmare. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I'll try to stay half glass full, but that's like two Texas teams doesn't make sense to me.
No. No, I mean two Florida teams, you got three LA teams. Like I don't know. I mean, you could pick a market that's a little cooler, maybe. Like at least New York, it snows there. So you can have an argument to have a good amount of teams there. I mean, then again, I don't know. Bring the Whalers back. Why not? Put a team back in Connecticut. Like it's sad that all the teams that we lost are the markets that I think would be the best to bring back, but that's not in their mindset. So it
Yeah,
is what it is.
they just keep going south when like they should just keep going north. Like I think
Hmm.
if Milwaukee got a team, that would make a ton of sense.
Yeah,
I mean, it's right on the border. Um, Wisconsin, the hockey in the NCAA has had like a really successful program recently. It's you can just put it in the Central Division and just have Minnesota's right there, Detroit's right there, Chicago's right there. Um, but I haven't even heard Milwaukee mentioned at all.
no,
I've heard like some fans throw out Portland because the NBA owner for the Trailblazers is trying to get their NBA team out of there, so there would be an empty arena. But Portland doesn't seem like much of a hockey town to me. I don't know if there's much of a history there, if any. Um, we'll see how this goes. I guess we'll just move on now. As I alluded to the intro, we're gonna just start kind of week by week, continue where we had last week of a slow kind of burn preview into both of our teams. Um, Last week we talked a little bit about our expectations along with the Vili Koivunen contract. Um, so today, Steven's giving a look. But yeah, so we're gonna go. We have listed three questions for each of our teams going into the season. Um, I think for both of our teams, there weren't a ton of questions going in last year because I think everyone expected Pittsburgh and Philadelphia to be on the outside of the playoffs looking in. Um, but since they both ended up in the playoffs, they ended up facing each other. Flyers won in 6 games. Uh, we're gonna talk about. There's gonna be more expectations this year, and I think a lot more questions that need to be answered. But I'll start with you, Steven. I'll pull up the roster on our screen in just a minute, but just tell the people, I guess, some of the questions you have going in for the Pittsburgh Penguins this season.
well, my number one question is will the goaltending hold up? With Marshall being a rookie and then Seeloffs, I have full faith in Seeloffs. I think he can do it as long as he stays healthy. Mershov is questionable just because he is a rookie. He is confirmed to be the guy. I saw he just got his fresh new mask for the start of his season. So it's definitely going to be the two of them. So I guess it's will the goaltending hold up and if they'll have to make a move or not. I mean, Seeloffs seems like he has enough. He went stretches there as the starter when Jari left, and it was him and Skinner, and they were sharing the net together, and then they kind of ended up being Seeloff's net to lose. So it's more so on Mershov's side of things is also how much do the Penguins want to play him? Like, I don't know if they're going to split it 50-50. I don't really see that. I imagine it'd be more like 60-40 with Seeloff starting more of the games and then Mershov. But, I mean, if Seeloff gets hurt, that's it. It's going to be him. And then I guess it would be Bloomquist. So goaltending is definitely my biggest, like, what if this coming season. But I have faith in them. I really don't see them not living up to the expectations that I guess the Penguins have for them. Um, the another one I guess is can the old heads stay healthy? It's always Gino is the biggest concern. Now especially now, I mean he's gonna be 41. Sits up there, Latag's up there, and Carlson. It's funny because Carlson, out of like them, is usually the healthiest one, and you don't really hear Eric Carlson getting hurt that much, besides when Matt Cook sticking his skate blade in his Achilles. Um, but if the core stays healthy, I don't see them not making the playoffs. I don't see Sid not keeping his point per game streak. I fully have faith in him keeping that, making it 22 straight seasons of that. Only player in history to do it. Um, and then I guess the third one I would have is, can the young guys take that next step? I feel like Ben Kindle will have a bigger year. The Penguins expect them to probably have a bigger year. They probably really expect him to be able to maybe take that jump to the fully be on the second line and maybe bump Novak to the third line. But Tommy Novak did just sign that extension, so I don't know what they think. I mean, I could see Novak bumping down to the third, but him and Malkin played pretty well together, I'd say. So, but then there's the other guys like Koivunen. If is Koivunen going to actually take the step to prove that he is worth an 8-year contract? He's going to have to, if you ask me. And then there's other guys like McGordy to see finally get his footing in the NHL full time this season, and then like there's other guys like Saint Ivany if he gets the shot to prove, because when he played those couple of games, I actually really enjoyed him. I thought he had brought a spark that the Penguins are kind of lacking. Um, yeah, no, I mean, but the roster they have, it's more or less like, can the guys that they brought in to replace the guys they have, can they do it? Like, are you replacing Mantha with Kuzmenko? Is he going to be a 30 goal scorer finally? That's their hope, I'd imagine. I mean, they brought him in on a 1-year deal just like they did with Mantha. So I feel like it's the exact same boat. Um, but yeah, no, it's really just young kids. Can they take that next step? Is goaltending going to hold up? And can the core stay healthy? I think those are my main three.
Yeah, I definitely think if I were to make a list for the Penguins, it would be like your top two, like you said. It would be, um, the consistency of the goaltending. This is going to be Sheila's first chance to be a starter, and then Crosby. It is pretty miraculous that like so early in Crosby's career there were like serious concussion issues. There were concerns. There were so not totally the same exact situation as Bedard, but it's kind of similar. Of just a lot of injuries like early on in his career, and then just the fact that he's still playing, and it just looks like he can keep playing, despite like he had the injury in the Olympics that kept him off. How long was he out with that Olympic injury?
He had I think it was like maybe a month, but then he came back and he like retweaked it, so he missed a couple
Mm.
games after that. But even with missing that month, he had still already had enough points to keep that point per game. So that's funny. That's like my one main thing is I'm hoping he can do it, just because add it to the history books of even one more season to it. Because Gretzky's at 19, and this is gonna be Sid's 23rd season. So
Jeez Louise, that's insane. That's like
yeah,
absurd to think about. Um, but I definitely think you nailed it with like the top two concerns, because it just from the outside looking in, it has to be the health of the stars, and then yeah, net. I mean, we could. It's always possible to see a midseason trade for a goaltender.
yeah. I
Cap
mean, they
space
did
is
it
in.
last year. They got Skinner for Jari when it wasn't working out. So I mean, Kyle's one of those guys that he makes more moves before the deadline and tries to get your team more because you traded at the deadline. What, you got like 20 games to get affiliated with everybody, get used to the system, but make the trade in December. You've got half your season to get them in the lineup, make them feel comfortable. So
And there's no shortage of names in net that could be on the move. We're going to
Hmm.
be talking a lot about goalies later on. Um, Connor Hellebuck's name is out there. Yeah, Jordan Bennington's name is out there. So we'll see. I mean, it seems like the organization has a lot of faith in Sheilov, so I think they should. I mean, the three playoff games he played, he was fantastic. I thought. He definitely gave you more security than Skinner, which I really don't even think Skinner played that bad until game three, where he was just leaking everything in. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, the big thing, my brain has been altered to think that every Russian rookie is just going to let everything in because that's just what I've been dealing with my entire life. Kolosov had the game last year against the Rangers where he faced three shots and let all three in and then got yanked. Um, that was a disaster. But yeah, I think obviously Mershov's very high on the prospect list for goalies in hockey. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have confidence in those two, but you never know. They're both young guys, and then um,
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had a goalie prospect this high since Matt Murray, so
yeah, and we saw how that worked out. Um, so I think with Shilov's if I were to transition to the Flyers, if there's anyone that can show you that getting a backup in an Alberta hockey team, or I guess it's just Western Canada, Vancouver's British Columbia, but um, yeah, it would be Dan Vladar, who came over from Calgary, had his first season in net for the Philadelphia. It was just unbelievable. And that's actually my third question for the Philadelphia Flyers this year is can Vladar follow up his breakthrough season? Now, there's always there's always that fear with Flyers goaltenders of, we saw Brizgalov his first year, great, absolutely steady, exactly what they needed. Give him that long contract, and he's out of the organization in less than 2 years. They just had to rinse their hands of him. And then they trade Bobrovsky because they picked Brizgalov over him. And then Bobrovsky's on his way to the Hall of Fame in about 2 to 3 years. So that's what happened with them. But there's always going to be that fear in the lineup when it comes to goaltending. And while I have a ton of faith in Vladar, he got a big extension. 5 years is 5 years for a goaltender is a pretty large commitment. But if there is one saving grace, is that they don't have Sam Ersson as a backup anymore. Sam Ersson had the worst goaltending percentage uh, up until the Olympic break. Finished the season really strong. I don't have anything against Sam Ersson. I think like Brian Boucher said, like somewhere in there is a good goaltender, and I believe him completely. But just for whatever reason, it was not working out here. Now he's going to be backing up Olmark in Ottawa. But now Joseph Woll's coming in as a backup, which was like their big move of the offseason, which was addressing a serious need, which is, I mean, they put Vladar out there for 49 games, and that's even with an injury he had in January, which led to the serious low point in the season for the Flyers. As I mentioned, Kolosov letting in 3 goals in 3 shots, but uh, you're not going to have an Ersson Kolosov tandem again if Vladar goes down. You're going to have Wall, most likely Kolosov being the third goalie called up, but Joseph Wall gives you way more confidence than Sam Ersson does. Um, Having said all that, if you can get a great season out of Vladar, um, like he just provided you last year, along with a steady backup like Joseph Woll, who's kind of pushing to be a starter in Toronto. He just had serious injury concerns. That's going to be a really good tandem in this league. I really do believe that. But we don't know if Vladar is going to bring that consistency. I think the only thing that's giving me hesitance that he can is just I'm a Flyers fan and I'm used to this. I'm used to goalies just like completely disappearing. There hasn't been a really consistent goaltender since like Steve Mason, and he even then like Steve Mason was pretty inconsistent. So we'll see that lands. I have full faith in Darth, but we'll see. But that's my number three question going into the season for the Flyers. My number two, I just have written down everything Rick Tocchet. A lot of it has to do with Matvei Michkov. We're going to see very early on in training camp, I believe. I don't know if Michkov's going to be really playing preseason games, but I can see that happening. We're going to see very quickly if that relationship can mend because they did not get off on the right foot last year. They went into a pretty bad place in the middle of the season because of Mishkov's lack of minutes, his lack of production in those minutes, led into a Rick Tocchet crash out at the Wives Carnival, which is about like the most unconventional place you can crash out as a head coach. It's a charity event for the fans, but I mean I understand it, but yeah, we're gonna see where this goes. There was I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Mishkov was in a charity event in Russia, basically just like a Russian all-star charity event, and then finished with a hat trick. The third goal was a Michigan goal, which we know Rick Tocchet's already not a big fan of anything too flashy, anything that's a little too gimmicky. You know, he's all about playing the right way, which
Well,
we
if
heard
there's
about.
John Tortorella still, he wouldn't even be in the lineup. So
That's true. That is true. Um, the the old timers, they do not like the Michigan at all. Which is funny because like the guy they traded for is the guy who scored the most Michigan goals. I think other than Svechnikov, I think Zegras has the most. I think he might actually be in front of Svechnikov. They might have two or three each, but um, and Rick Tocchet was kind of praising his Mishkov's awareness on the goal because when I sent it to you, you said it immediately. It's like I've never seen a Michigan go low like that before. It's usually right in the corner, right in the top corner. And Tocchet was saying that himself. Say, hey, listen, you know, I like seeing the awareness. So, and he was kind of laughing about it. He seemed positive. So I hope that's a good sign because you know if there's a serious thing that the front office was addressing through all season, it was you know we gotta fix this relationship a little bit. And if I had a second concern for Rick Tocchet, this kind of goes with every experienced and like veteran coach in the NHL where you see that huge like boost when a guy comes in. Like we saw it with Rick Bowness last year with Columbus until everything kind of fell apart for them. Speaking of coach crash out, I mean the Rick Bowness crash out after the last game of the season was fantastic. It was one of the best things I've seen from a head coach in a couple years. We saw Lindy Ruff going back to Buffalo. Saw all the success they had in Buffalo, but there's always going to be that concern for a dip in production for veteran coaches' second NHL season. Is Tockett's message going to get across to the locker room the same way it did last year, where they had an incredible finish to the season, the 3.8%? You know, the belief in the room, is that going to be there in the second season? I tend to think it does. Just from watching the exit interviews from the players when the season ended after they got eliminated by Carolina, it felt like these guys were like ready to go back on the ice immediately. The way they're talking, they seem motivated, they seem energized. They had full on belief in themselves, and I don't see that disappearing in the summer, especially with the contracts that pivotal guys like Vladar, Forster, Drysdale, Zegras, you know, all those guys were huge for the Flyers down the stretch, and they were rewarded for it. And I think that's what the message the organization wants to be is they're gonna pay guys what they want to get, pay guys that do the organization well to stay there. And having said all that, I do have concerns about a second NHL season for a veteran coach. I mean, we've seen it with DeBoer. He's gonna have his first year in the Islanders. I think that's probably the only thing other than Schaefer and Sorokin that's going for the Islanders is they could have that first year NHL coach boost. We'll see about that. It doesn't always work out. I mean, we saw Mike Sullivan and the Rangers that did not go very well, but he's still there. Um, your guy Sully. It is funny because like Sullivan went and like he he coached like the gold medal team and he had to just go back to play like coaching for the Rangers.
Yeah, I love Sully, but uh, he can keep coaching the Rangers like he's been.
Just keep him terrible.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean they were god awful. They were the worst team in the league at home
I
by
I feel like they'll definitely have a bounce back this year. I feel like, they'll get used to his system. Um I still don't see the Rangers being, like high end tier, but I definitely think Sullivan will steer that ship in the right direction this season.
yeah, I mean he's gonna be a Hall of Fame coach when it's all said and done, like easily, easily. I mean he's got all the team accolades you can get. Um and that'll lead me into my number one question. Number two, just anything Brick talk. I just concerned about the relationship between player and coach, and also, 98 points is a big season for a team that had so many lulls. Like in January, and it was a bad winter before the Olympic break, and they needed that break, but there's not going to be that Olympic break this year, so we'll see how this goes. And my number one, it should be obvious. Will this power play ever be fixed? All they need to do is just not be dead last, and I think they'll be fine. Like if you can just get a 23rd or 24th most productive power play in the league, like you're going to be scoring more goals, and like you're probably going to be in the playoffs again. All they need to do is just not be horrible. And it seems like that is a lot to ask for because they have been dead last, like on average, dead last for about 5 years now, which is just ridiculous. It doesn't matter what coaching system it is. Tortorella did not fix anything. Taka comes in, does not fix anything. This is just, it's been a disaster for far too long. It's one of the great mysteries of the world. It's up there with Stonehenge and how the pyramids were built. It's how is this power play so damn awful? Now, if you look at the offense, I'll pull up the screen a little bit. There's talented players here. Like now, the big problem is they couldn't win a damn face-off for their life in the attacking zone when a power play began. Zegras needs to work on his face-off, so he knows that. Everybody knows that. They were having Couturier and Dvorak like play on the power play just to win a face-off. Couturier would just skate to the bench. So you basically have 5 to 10 seconds for 4-on-4. You're not really establishing much of a power play there if you don't have the extra man. Dvorak doesn't provide a unique, like dynamic playmaking ability as like steady as he had been in the lineup last season. So it's really you're gonna need Zegras to work on his faceoffs. Obviously, you need him on the first power play because he's the best playmaker on the team. He's probably gonna lead the team in assists this year. Um, and then I mean you got now Martone having a full season. Martone's obviously gonna help. They didn't have Martone until the last 12 games of the season. They were showing signs of improvement when he was there. They had him as a net front player, which I don't know if I want a net front player at 19 years old. It seems a little dangerous to me, but there's not a Wayne Simmons coming through being an absolute force in front of the net. So you're gonna have Martone. Assume you're gonna have Forster on there because he's probably the best shooter you have on that left wing. Because Zegras likes playing on the right wing, and so does Mishkov. So probably gonna have those four as your forwards. And the biggest question is David Iricek, who they brought in literally just to fix this power play. Um, he's got a huge shot. I mean, his slapper like tops off at like 94, 95. So the only reason he keeps getting chances in the league is because he's got that massive shot. Um, is he going to do enough to make this consistent? Now he's 22. He's obviously still got a lot of room for improvement. The other big question is Drysdale because he's probably the best skating defenseman on this team. Um, he was drafted also much like Jiricek, drafted very high because of his offensive upside. Can Drysdale take that step, add probably 10 points to his season from before that? Can he be a 40 to 45 point player and get enough speed on a shot this offseason that it can make a full 5-man power play that isn't just diarrhea on the ice. We'll see what happens. That's easily the biggest question is will this power play not be absolutely terrible? And that's it for our questions.
I got one. Is Todd Ridden still the power play head coach? Because that might affect some things.
So he is on the coaching staff. I don't remember the exact. It's I can't remember the name of the guy that's actually in charge. I think he might be a Finnish coach, but Todd Reardon was more working with like I know he was working with Drysdale a lot this season, and he was working with a couple of defensemen, but I think he's just an assistant.
Okay.
Uh,
Because I know all too well about how bad a power play can be with Todd. We've seen me on TV flipping Todd off even actually.
yes. Yeah, let's keep him away from the whiteboard on that one. Keep it, just lock all the expo markers like in a safe. As soon as
Yeah,
he opens the door,
yeah. Todd's not the guy for the power play. But I mean, hey, that's a step in the right direction if he's not in charge. So
it's like Danny Briere says, brick by brick. Um, and if you keep adding brick by brick, you build a wall, which is what we're going to be talking about. You need to build a wall on that, and we're going to talk about your favorite topic, Stephen. We're going to be talking about goalies. We're going to continue our award predictions, our award tour, if you will. Um, just to kind of segue into that, we had the NHL Network's list of the top 10 goalies right now. Uh, so 1 through 10. So number 10, we'll start from the top because it's going to be usually the same guys at the top for everybody. No surprise, Andre Vasilevsky from the Lightning is number one. Just won the Vezina. It's just been the model of consistency. Kind of the uh, kind of the forefront of the Russian goaltenders that are kind of in the conversation for Vezina every year. Number two, Hellebuck, which I was surprised that Hellebuck was this high to be honest with you, just because of how bad of a season it was for Winnipeg. But I guess they were riding a lot on the Olympic run. Three, Igor Shesterkin, another one I was surprised about because of how bad the Rangers were this year. Four, Elias Sorokin for the Islanders. Five was Jeremy Swayman for the Bruins. Six was Logan Thompson for the Capitals. Seven was Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars. Number eight, Dan Vladar for the Philadelphia Flyers. Number nine, Jesper Wallstedt for the Minnesota Wild, and then number 10, Jakob Dobesh for Montreal. Um, which I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up because I Dobesh was unbelievable in the playoffs this year. Were any of those names where they were placed, were they surprising to you at all?
um yeah, there's one guy.
Don't be saying it. Don't be saying
Yeah,
it, you
it's your
hater.
guy. It's your guy. I wouldn't have put him at 8. I probably would have put him at 10. That's the only thing I would have changed.
You would have put Wallstedt in front of Vladar.
I would have, yeah. But I would have put Dobish over Wallstedt too. So, that they're the only ones I would have changed. The top. But for this coming season, I think it's Vasilevsky's to lose. I like until you show me something that proves Vasilevsky's fallen off. I think he's just the face of goaltending. Like thank God the Penguins played him in 16 when they played the Lightning in the conference final and Bishop got hurt and he was a rookie. Because if it was a year or two after that, the Penguins would have lost and the Lightning probably would have won that cup in 16 if it was Vasilevsky 2 years into his career, not fresh rookie. But he's just so consistent. I mean, I don't think there's been a goalie since like Brodeur. That's just you put him in net and you really like I anytime he's in net, you just all right, the Lightning are most likely gonna win. You just don't have that with a lot of other goaltenders. I feel like, you know, Hellebuck, he's up there, Igor's up there, like, they're threatening. But the second you see Vass is in net, you're like, all right, great. And like the Lightning could no show, like it's yeah, you're right. Kucherov's not gonna show up. He's always showing up. But like when the offense for the Lightning's not there, Vass is back there, you don't have to worry. I feel like there's no other goalie in the league currently that you can really rely on that. I mean, maybe Hellebuck, but I just until that shows signs that he's truly regression, which I don't see anytime soon. Which every year he's always older, but he's still just the definition of what you want in net. Um, Now the runner-ups for the Vezina this year, I'd probably put Hellebuck just because he's elite. Now it depends on how the Jets do. If the Jets stay the way they are, he's gonna have to get out of there. Um, but I would honestly, I feel like Otter um could take that step that the Stars have been looking for. Um, Not saying that the goaltending has been the problem at all for Dallas. I feel like Otter's done exactly what they need him to do. I just feel like he might finally be reaching his prime, and I think the Stars need that because like in the playoffs, they do they tend to just stop showing up, and then it kind of falls on the defense and Otter, and you can only rely on Otter so much. So I don't know. I feel like Adobesh definitely can move up. I feel like with a full season, fully fresh, another full season with Montreal, and I don't see Montreal taking a step back. I see them doing better actually. So I feel like Dobesh could definitely move up. If the Rangers get their act together, Igor definitely stays up there. The Islanders are an interesting one. Sorokin's elite too, but he definitely shows signs that he could falter. Um, but I think I'd probably do Vash the winner and Otter, Dobesh, and Hellebuck are like the final or the close runner ups, I would say.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, I would say I thought Shesterkin was. I mean, I think I mean Igor's phenomenal. This has nothing to do with him, but I mean the placement at three when like Sorokin led the league in shutouts. I think it was a little surprising. I mean, he was the runner up for the Vezina behind Vasilevsky. And the Islanders, even though they missed the playoffs, I thought just had a better season than the Rangers. So that placement was a little surprising to me. Um, that being said, I am interested to see the season that Sorokin has now that Patrick Waugh is not the head coach anymore. I thought that relationship, I don't follow the Islanders very closely, but doesn't take a mathematician to think, the greatest goalie of all time, if he's your head coach, you're probably going to be a better goaltender, like in net. I mean, that just makes a lot of sense. And Sorokin had a couple of years there where he was pretty inconsistent, but I think everyone has seen like how elite he can be. Just another one of those just stud Russian goaltenders. So I think he'll be right back in the mix, especially like if the Islanders do have a good season. Like I said, like DeBoer might give him like a boost just because it's a new message in the locker room. Guys might be motivated. It would just kind of have to be Sorokin and Schaefer like carrying the team because I just don't think there's enough depth on the Islanders to make it into the playoffs. But um, to go to my finalists, I do think Jesper Wallstedt actually does get a nomination. Now, it might be difficult because Gustafson is still there, and Gustafson did have more starts this year. Um, and splitting that time, it might be difficult for a guy who's not starting every single night, like Vasilevsky was, to win the Vezina. But we've seen it with Allmark and Swayman when they were the duo in Boston, where Allmark won the Vezina, and I think Swayman might have actually been like fourth or fifth, which is unbelievable. They had the goalie hug and everything that was iconic, but uh, I think it just has to do with what I expect from Minnesota this year, and also the more experience Wallstedt gets, obviously he's still such a young goaltender. He was a former first round pick. I really expect him to have a good season, just because I expect Minnesota to have a good season, really. Um, Now, where I do think Vasilevsky is a finalist, like you said. It's mainly just because Tampa Bay is a monster in the regular season. They just run through teams, and then they haven't been out of the first round since they lost in the finals to Colorado, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, as long as you got Kucherov, like you said, and then as long as you got Vasilevsky in net, I can't see them going away anytime soon. But actually, who I have as my winner this season is a guy I've actually had in our fantasy league, I've had him. I think every year we've played, I think I've had him on my team, and that's Logan Thompson from Washington, and so I think is going to win it. Now uh, he was just kind of a model of consistency last season, and I think if Washington ended up being in the playoffs, I think he could have had that third place spot. Um, Especially because they didn't have like the strongest defensive game in front of him. A lot of times he was just keeping them in games, and I think he finished fourth or fifth in voting. And I do think he's the best Canadian goaltender out there. Not that there's a whole lot of competition nowadays, but um, I think that also has to do with the success I expect Washington to have this year. And there's going to be a lot more eyes on Washington as a whole because obviously, Obi's career is coming to an end. They made the most moves this offseason. People are labeling him as the winners of the offseason, bringing in Kyrou, bringing in Alex Tuck, bringing in Boone Jenner. They're going to be loaded offensively, but obviously we're talking about a team, a guy in net. Um, if I see them finishing with like 100, 102 points, which I do think is realistic, I can see Logan Thompson winning the award because his numbers are there. Um, and it is very funny that Vegas picked Aiden Hill over Logan Thompson. Now Aiden Hill can't even start over Carter Hart, which is crazy to me. Um, but I don't know. I've always liked Logan Thompson's game. I think he's really consistent. It was a little surprising he didn't play in the Olympics. It seemed like Bennington kind of just had the advantage because of how well he played in big games. The Cup run and then the Four Nations the year prior. But I think Logan Thompson wins this year. It's just more of what I'm expecting from Washington is to. I think they are going to have a pretty good year. That wouldn't surprise me if they finish second or third in the Metro. Um, I don't know. We talk about Washington a lot because I think if
We deal with them too much.
yeah, exactly. You do more than I do, but um,
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to think how that trade went down and Thompson was signing autographs and then he's like, yeah, you're going to Washington, buddy, mid autograph signing. So and I mean, good for him. I'm glad he got to become an elite goaltender for Washington. As much as I hate Washington, obviously I'm going to root for the success of anybody. So I could see him moving up there too. He definitely should be, and I think the top five on that list for sure.
yeah. I guess for to ask you, so Vasilevsky, Hellebuck, Shesterkin, Sorokin, Swayman. If he were to move in, Thompson were moving to the top five. Do you think Swayman is the one that gets pushed out?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Swayman had like an unbelievable season too.
Hmm.
And which is funny because he signed that extension the first year after the extension. It looked like it was going to be a really, really bad contract, and then he showed up this year, man, and he's a large reason why Boston made the playoffs. He's going to have to be a large reason if Boston makes it in again because the Atlantic is insanely competitive this year, or at least it's lining up to be competitive. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
so
think
I think
we,
the Atlantic's looking like the most like congested when it comes to like who can make it, and I feel like there's like five or six in that division that all could be in there. And of course, we have to fight for those spots too, which sucks. So
yeah, I mean, what it's going to be really difficult when we start making our like playoff predictions because there's going to be like two teams just from that division alone that are going to be really good and like miss the division. And if I were to take a bet on it now, I'd probably say Boston is who I'd expect to be out in that division for the teams in the Atlantic that we're in. I think Ottawa's probably in that camp too, but I think Ottawa's going to be playing pissed off this year because of what happened with Brady Tkachuk. So I can see that motivating them enough where we can see them go on some kind of crazy run, not to like a cup or anything, but just to make the playoffs.
Ottawa's definitely an interesting one. It also depends on if Omar can get his game together too with
Yeah,
everything going on with him. So and then I mean losing Kachuk, you're not replacing that. So I mean Ottawa's definitely an interesting one to look at this season.
Yeah, they still have so much time. I mean, Stützle is unbelievable,
Yeah,
obviously. I mean, Sanderson, we expect to probably be in Norris conversations coming up soon. Um, but yeah, going back to that, when we were talking Norris last year, I remember I texted you like an hour later. I'm like, holy shit, we forgot to talk about Mo Sider,
yeah,
which is crazy because he's one of my favorite players. He's another guy I have on on fantasy like every single year. Um, yeah, I just couldn't believe we forgot Mo Sider. He's a stud. And that's another team, Detroit, where we don't know what the hell is gonna happen with Larkin,
yeah,
and that could be a huge distraction if he's not moved, um, and that could really hurt their season.
yeah. I mean, the Red
Um,
Wings also have to have Gibson stay healthy. Gibson, I love John Gibson, but I mean his injury record is it's lengthy. So
yeah, it's that's gonna be there's gonna be a lot riding on Detroit, and they still haven't named a general manager since they
no,
fired Eiserman. So it's
yeah,
looking
the
like a
guy that
mess.
tried to bring in Stamkos, but the owner said no.
Crazy, man. And then Stamkos, what was the stat you were telling me about, like the Stamkos stat this
Um.
season? I know he had 42 goals, which is
Oh
crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He had an insane bounce back. Like if I'm doing Larkin and if I know that I could be playing with Steven Stamkos and my GM actually tried to do it because I had seen I'd heard like there's the lack of moves that the Red Wings have made that was kind of tearing their you know relationship apart. And then I'm gonna get Steven Stamkos, and the owner says, nah, like that's not gonna rub me the right way at all. So, and then
Yeah,
it's Stamkos when he first went to Nashville, like yeah, okay, that version. But then look at what you just got last season. You got 42 goals scored. Steven Stamkos at what, like 30, like
I think he's 37.
4?
I think
Yeah, I mean
36 or
yeah,
37,
he's older than that. So
off of like
I
two
mean
or three like season-ending injuries as well.
yeah. So and I mean he's
Just
doing it in
ridiculous.
Nashville with pretty much just Philip Forsberg. So I mean, put him on the Red Wings. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm missing something there. So
Yeah, that's going to be another. Nashville's going to be another interesting team this year because I mean,
I think a lot of their young guys that they were like Wild Splat. I think a lot of them take that next step. I think Nashville will definitely be better because I don't see Saros really flying off at all. He's 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 a sleeper. Like I don't think he gets enough credit he deserves. Just 'cause he's also smaller than most goalies too. That also
mm,
hinders him. And that I don't know. The league just likes hyping tall guys up in that. So
yeah, and then I mean, Nashville's like transition from like to have Rene, like a guy as good as like Pekka Rene, just to go to like a guy as good as Saros is like
mhm.
you can't ask for much more if you're an organization.
Yeah, no, pretty much
Um,
Nashville's whole existence, they've had pretty much, I'd say, elite goaltending to fantastic goaltending. Because I mean, they had Okun at the start, shout out, and then they had Rene, who's the face of the franchise besides Shea Weber. Like when you think of the Predators, you think of Shea Weber and Pekka Rene, and now they have Saros. So I mean, they really haven't had any hiccups in net the entire franchise's existence. So
yeah, and then that yeah, the Central's gonna be really interesting because I do think St. Louis also has a better season than they did last year. Um, but I mean, it probably the three best teams in the NHL all reside in the Central Division. And then Utah's right there, who I think Utah probably had the best offseason other than Washington.
mhm.
So it's going to be, that's another team that's going to be, pushing for that final wild card spot. And then we haven't even mentioned the Pacific, which was a dumpster fire last year. Even McDavid said it. I think didn't McDavid call it like a pillow fight or something like that? Like for the
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely the softest out of the four for sure. And I mean, I see it being the same this year.
yeah, every division is so top heavy, and to just try to break through to be in like middle of the pack is like really tough. Um, yeah, just to even think forward, I mean, the only team I can see stepping out of the Pacific Division would probably be the LA Kings. Um, just because I don't really know. I mean, first off, you lost your 18, 19-year captain this season who just retired. And then there's a bit of a tussle going on with Doughty and ownership, and like the general manager saying that they weren't going to give him an extension. He's probably the best defenseman of all time for Los Angeles. So, I mean, they're riding in with the first line center, Quentin Byfield, and he hasn't really showed up. Much like Lafreniere, he was like picked right before him. Neither guy has really showed up as consistently as either team would want. And that's going to be a big year for Byfield. I'm curious to see what happens with the Kings. Like obviously I mean, San Jose on their heels too. San Jose is coming for him.
I see the Sharks. I think the Sharks take that division this season. I really do. I mean, the Oilers, you can only get so far with how McDavid and Draisaitl will get you. I mean, you have no clue what the hell they're going to have in net. I mean, you don't know what jar you're going to get. You don't like. They don't have Nurse now either, so that might, shake things up too. I mean, now it's really all about Bouchard, which I mean,
All right, so we're back after some technical difficulties. Hopefully, if I'm good enough at editing, you wouldn't be able to tell. But but Steven, I'll let you finish your thoughts about the San Jose Sharks.
but yeah, no, I think the Sharks are going to take that division. I really don't see anybody else in that division coming close to them. I mean, maybe the Ducks. I think the Ducks honestly have a better shot of becoming second, and the Oilers fall in the third because it's really all up to McDavid and Draisaitl. And if one of them gets hurt, it's over. So, but I mean, Celebrini, there's no way he's slowing down, and everybody else on the Sharks is young and upcoming. And I really think the Sharks are about to be a real big problem for the league in the next decade for sure. And that's the same with the Ducks. I think they're the two that will own that division within the next like 2 to 3 years. It'll just be Ducks, Sharks, and everybody else follows.
So you have them like just you have them just winning the division, like first in the division.
Yeah,
Wow. I mean, I haven't maybe probably getting a third spot or something. I'm surprised because I mean, if it really, I guess it's all up to Vegas's goaltending, and then
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's the big four there. But I feel like the Oilers. I don't know. The Oilers, they're overrated to me. I have been saying that. I really do. I think they're overrated. I think it's just the two that carry them and Bouchard, but they need to find a goaltender. I still don't think they have it. Jari, I love you, but I mean, I don't. You got to find your game to be their guy. Um, Vegas. It is a pain as they don't fall off either. So I mean, maybe not, but I really do. I think the Sharks are going to be within the 2 and 3 years. They're going to own that division.
yeah, I think it's inevitable. I'm surprised this quickly.
I
I guess
just
for a
with
year.
how Celebrini and with how he plays and with everybody, I just think they're going to take that step. I really do.
Yeah, and they drafted again. I feel like for 3 years in a row now, they've gotten the best center in the draft, which just doesn't make any sense. But I think that wrap things up. I know we're running out of time. You have any closing thoughts for the people at home?
Uh, Not much this week. Not really. There really hasn't been much news there or anything. It really hasn't. We really are just peak. Just we need it now. I
Dead of
mean,
summer.
we got football starting up, so that means hockey's around the corner, but not soon enough.
Yeah, I guess my message is if you're going to be making a video podcast, try to not use Google Meet, um, because it's led us to problems 2 weeks in a row now. But thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us for this long. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Keep enjoying hockey. Bye bye.